everyone, to today's workbook discussion on Zoom. Welcome also to all who join us later by watching or listening to this recording. I'm Laura Fenimore, the Chief Development Officer and Volunteer Coordinator with the Foundation for Inner Peace, the scribe authorized publisher of A Course in Miracles. We really appreciate your partnership with the Foundation. And if you want to learn more about the Foundation or A Course in Miracles, please visit ACIM.org. If you feel inspired to make a love offering, please visit ACIM.org, and at the top of the page, you will find the word donate. All donations support the work of the Foundation. Each session will be delving into a discussion of the workbook lessons in A Course in Miracles led by a moderator team of volunteers that work with the Foundation. What does discussion mean? In our gatherings here, we welcome the Holy Spirit to join us. Through this presence, our meeting becomes a joining of equals to commune with the Holy Spirit's guidance to experience miracles together. Some of the moderators here also support our social media channels, and if you'd like a list of FIP resources, please email support@acim.org, and we'll be happy to share the resource list with you. Now let's begin our discussion.
Stephanie, take it away.
Yeah. Okay. My name is Stephanie Schleider, and I am a volunteer for the Foundation for Inner Peace. I'm grateful to be here with you. These guidelines are a way of keeping us focused on our purpose. So I will go over them. We gather here with empty hands and willing hearts, joining in the shared purpose of remembering love, because love is what we are. We keep our focus on the scribe authorized original version of A Course in Miracles, letting its teachings guide our seeing and our speaking. We share from our own experience with kindness, humility, and respect for every path. Excuse me, no preaching, no correcting, only the offering of light. We choose love over fear, and if disturbance arises, we'll meet it as a call for love while protecting the peace of the circle. We welcome the Holy Spirit into our joining, trusting that every encounter is holy. The session is recorded, and your presence is your permission. Together, we walk each other home, knowing that nothing real can be threatened, nothing unreal exists. Herein lies the peace of God. So let's just take a couple of minutes to center ourselves and to relax. And I invite you to your own little willingness to welcome what you hear in the meeting in a way that allows it to go as beautifully and deeply as it can, and to share what you feel you have to offer to the group. Now, I invite you to close your eyes and to take some very deep, slow breaths. And I'll read the following prayer from chapter 2. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what to say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. So let's just stay in the peace for the moment. I invite you to welcome the Holy Spirit and to get your own guidance for a minute or so. So I invite you to come back together in our group. And today's lesson is interesting. It's made up of very few sentences, but each one is huge. I'll read the lesson and then ask questions and include some quotations from other places in our text to help us link or connect these ideas together. And of course, our discussion will support that. That's the intention. So this is lesson 150. My mind holds only what I think with God. I will accept atonement for myself. Only salvation can be said to cure. So my first question is, why is the following statement true? My mind holds only what I think with God. Uma, unmute.
My mind, which is one with God, holds only what I think with God because the rest of it's just compost. It doesn't stay. It's a mirage, except for God's thoughts.
Would anyone else like to comment on that statement? My mind holds only what I think with God. Johanna.
Yes, I'd love to. I'm focusing on the word hold, and I interpret it as cradle. And so my mind only cradles the thoughts I think with God, because God's thoughts are inspirations, and they cradle me. So it's a back and forth of cradling. Whereas the thoughts of the eco mind, the compost, the manure, that's sort of like it possesses me. So there's no cradling there at all. So that's how I differentiate.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Both comments very useful and went together beautifully. Anybody else? Oh, Andrew, hi.
Hi. Hello, everyone. Uh, I imagine that the self that with the capital S has a mind that thinks with God, and the small self, which is just a dream, has different thoughts, but they're nothing that the ego thinks or perceives lasts, so it's not real.
Thank you. Sharon?
Yeah, I think what I think that means is there is nothing outside of God. There is no reality outside of God. So we couldn't think with anything other than with the mind of God, because that's who and what we are. That's how I see it.
Yeah, so
Thanks.
one of the things I'm hearing you say, Sharon, is that though it may appear because of the illusion that there are other thoughts, ego, so on, that it's not real. And that's really something for us to wrap our mind around. I mean, I know people here, many people here have studied deeply and for a long time, but it still is something to wrap our minds around. So Philip and then Megan.
Yeah, just went real quick. It kind of hit me that my mind holds only what I think with God. All my ego thoughts are trash and they get projected out. But the thoughts I hold with God are eternal.
Mm,
Okay.
thank you. Megan.
So from my perspective, all the things that I'll work at it backwards. Anything that is not of God is the thing that I've created out of separation. So my mind can only hold the thoughts of God. Otherwise, it is a separate thought that is not of God. Thanks.
Thank you. It's so empowering to hear different people's comments, even though I've read this, we've read it, but still we could always see something new and deeper. So Maria, would you like to add to our conversation?
What it came to mind is that somewhere in the course says that when I am thinking with the ego, my mind is blank. There's, it means nothing. So what is after that has to be only the thoughts of God, which I'm not aware right now, but I know that's the truth. Thank you.
Thank you, Maria. Peter?
Yeah, I was just going to share what Maria said. So that's workbook lesson number 8. And it says, very few have realized what is actually entailed in picturing the past or anticipating the future. The mind is actually blank when it does this because it is not really thinking about anything. So our real thoughts are the thoughts that we think with God, right? And so if I like Johanna's description of the word hold. Sometimes I think for me, holds is to embrace. So my mind embraces only what I think with God. And because those are, as has been said, those are our real thoughts. And so I think what it does for me is it helps me recognize, and so what are God's real, what are real thoughts? So thoughts of love, forgiveness, compassion, acceptance, those are real thoughts. Anything else is from the ego and is therefore is part of the illusion, and it keeps me trapped in the illusion. So when I'm judging, condemning, comparing, feeling sorry for myself, whatever it is, those are not thoughts. I don't believe that God sits around feeling sorry for himself, so that's me indulging in my ego. That's what I got.
So one of the things I got from what you said, Peter, which I find very valuable, is when we're thinking about the past or the future, we're not in the present. And so we're not present. So we're somewhere else, which I guess as soon as we could identify that, we can come back to the presence of God. I'm going to ask my next question. So before we address lesson 139, I will accept atonement for myself. Let's look at Principles of Miracles, principle number 26, which comments on both fear and atoning. So we'll discuss each one individually, fear and atoning. So it states, this is in Principles of Miracles, principle number 26. It states, miracles represent freedom from fear. Okay? My question is, do you agree or disagree? Why?
Could you repeat, please? Because I'm
Yes.
typing and
Oh, of course. Okay. So the statement is my mind holds only what I think with God. And the statement from lesson 139, I will accept atonement. Wait, sorry. This is from principle 26. Miracles represent freedom from fear. Miracles represent freedom from fear. Do you agree or disagree? Why? Or anything else you want to say about that statement? Miracles represent freedom from fear. Laura?
Well, for me, what happens, I've been looking at this all summer so far. And I've taken the time to really separate myself, literally, from everything and everyone, and just listen for the voice of God and try to begin to really understand the difference between what we've been calling the ego's voice and anything else other than what I do recognize as the voice for God, but never really trusted that that's what I was hearing or that's what I was experiencing, because I don't really hear it anymore. It's more of an experience. And what I've gotten this summer is that it began coming in as my own thoughts, in a sense, but I knew they were not my own thoughts because there was a lot of silence before and a lot of silence afterwards. So it was like I was going back and forth, I think, with God, trying to understand how he could talk to me or how that voice can come in something higher than what my ordinary automatic self produces. And I've just begun to see the difference, really experience the difference, and then have enough faith and confidence to act on what I thought or what I experienced or thought I was experiencing as being told what I needed to do next, or little things, big things, all sorts of things. And even when I had like tremendous doubt, when I'd get a feeling that I should not do something, that I began to really question wildly some part of me. But that was fear. That was the fear coming in and saying, well, what if I'm mistaken? And so I decided to just really ignore the fear and go with what I was hearing. And it got very interesting. It got very, very quiet in myself and in my home and everywhere I went. And I began taking direction, and things became easier. And I began to be able to discern the difference between hearing something from, I'm going to say God, but I'm also going to say that which is highest. And what it was my usual self. Because there is a sensation that comes with fear. It creates a chemical in the body that irritates my stomach. So I knew when I know when I'm in fear, I know when I'm in anxiety. And those are not coming from God. That's coming from myself. And I'm going to now say my old self, because I'm listening to God more. And I like that, because I really don't have to worry. It really is true. You don't have to worry. So that's been my experience for the last couple of months. I've just been working with that, trying to live that, be there with that, and without all the noise that could surround it. Like not going to church meetings and having all these different voices telling me how to interpret what I was experiencing. So that's it so far. Summer's not over.
So, Laura, it sounds like you were on a personal spiritual retreat for
That's
these
exactly what I was doing.
And also, I want to say your comments perfectly on my question, because you're clearly saying that by focusing only on your hearing God, that it was a miracle because the fear just dissipated or wasn't there.
It's been a string of miracles. It's been
Yeah,
amazing.
miracle after, yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you very much for commenting, Lord. So good to see you.
Welcome. Same here. Very happy to see everyone.
Good, good. Kareem?
Yes. Yes. Thank you, Laura, for sharing. I really enjoyed listening to your experience from one end to another. And I would like to add the discussion about miracles representing freedom from fear. For me, it's a promise that if I go to forgiveness and love and understanding and asking, that the result will always, well, not, I can't say always surprise me, but many times surprises me of the result of that. So to me, that's the miracle. It's like a surprise, something that I would not have expected. Maybe something, an action that I think, well, how am I going to act in this moment? When it comes, like certain situations, if it comes up again. And if I trust in that, in responding from the Course of Miracles, then the result, it surprises me, and I love it, and it's a great experience. It's a good experience. So I love that I can trust the Course of Miracles to lead me to that. And for me, that's accepting atonement for myself, which also helps others. Then it shows love to others. And for me, then I'm fulfilling my function here as what Jesus and God want me to do, is to help lead others to love and to remember God. And I think when we feel love towards others, in whatever capacity that means, like forgiveness, understanding, that leads us to God. So thanks.
Thanks, Corinne. You know, what you reminded me of is when I first started to speak to the Holy Spirit, sometimes I would hear things that were completely different than what I think myself. And that was one way that I totally knew it was the Holy Spirit, because either I completely disagreed, or it was just so clearly not something I would think, So anyway, that was always comforting to me. Bill, I believe you were next. Good to see you, Bill.
Yes, blessed. So happy to be here. So when I first started considering that miracles represent the lack of fear. So, represents freedom from fear. And then it came to my mind that we have only two states that we can possibly be in: love and fear. And when we reduce fear, we are in love, which is the miracle. So that's how it relates. If our fear is gone, we're automatically in the miracle. I would like to read here quickly what I came up with. In A Course in Miracles, the principle miracles represent freedom from fear, MP 26, points to the idea that miracles are not about changing external events, but about shifting perception. Fear is seen as the root of separation. It keeps the mind bound to illusions of danger, guilt, and attack. A miracle, in ACIM's language, is a correction in thought. It replaces fear with love, restoring awareness of truth. When fear is released, the mind is free to recognize the unity with God and with others. The freedom is not about escaping circumstances, but about dissolving the inner change of judgment and anxiety. In practice, this means that miracles are expressions of peace, forgiveness, and clarity. They undo fear by showing it has no real foundation. It ties directly to the lesson 139. I will accept atonement for myself. Accepting atonement is essentially accepting the miracle. It's the correction of fear into love. The two ideas reinforce each other. Atonement is the broader principle, and miracles are its expression in daily life. Thank you very much for that, Gemini.
Thank you, Bill. You kind of answered the next question I'm going to ask, but I'm not going to ask it yet anyway. But you did handle it. I think I saw, Uma, I see your hand. I'm not seeing any other hand now. I thought somebody else had their hand up. What would you like to say, Uma?
I want to thank Laura. It was very encouraging because I am also doing a lot less social engaging with people in the world and trying to listen deeper to enhance that conversation with divinity. Two, very, very innocently, I ask, why would I disagree or agree with anything the Course says? Of course I agree. I mean, if I don't think I agree, it's because I don't understand. So I'm curious about how, very innocently, I'm curious about the way that's stated.
Yeah. Well,
Instead
I
of
think,
like, my mind holds nothing that I, think other than with God. How would you interpret this? How is this true for you, or something like
well, one of the reasons I asked it the way I did was because sometimes instead of really knowing what we think, we may have our own stories. And we do have our own stories. I mean, ego does until we are ascending. So I understand your question, I do. I accept your feedback on it, but that was the way it came to me. So that's the way I asked it. I wanted to give people a chance to be free to be expressed. That's one reason. At this point, does anybody else? Go ahead.
innocently, I'd just say the other sentence would have allowed equal expression and wouldn't have had that fight in it. It looks like there's a fight. Do you agree or disagree? That's all. Thank you.
I take that feedback well. Okay, so I'm going to go on to my next question. So that principle number 26 states atoning means undoing. Atoning means undoing. So I have a three-part question. I'll just read it the way I have it. You could comment on the way I ask it. I don't mind. So here's my question. Do we want to undo fear? Where did fear come from? And why do we want to undo fear? I'm really trying to go very basic with this. I mean, maybe for myself. So atoning means undoing. And in lesson 150, it says, I will accept atonement for myself. So I will accept undoing for myself, which I think is pretty important. Because it says, I will accept atonement for myself. I saw Philip's hand first.
I forgot the first part of your question. What was it?
Do we want to undo fear? Where did fear come from? It's on the screen.
Okay. So yeah, that fear is when we listen to the ego, the voice of separation from God. So we're not really aware of that fear until we open up the right mind, give up on the world a little bit. We just been listening to the ego. You don't even recognize how much fear you're in. It's a scary world if everybody's separate from each other. And you're fighting for yourself. Even though it might be special love, it's still a very fearful situation. And it's all really attack. So the undoing of fear is essential. Pretty much the only thing that miracle does. And we undo it by bringing our ego to the Holy Spirit, which it's not direct contact with God, but it is healing our split mind, our ego mind. When I first gave up on the world, light came in. I spent about 4 years walking around with dark glasses and a baseball cap. I didn't even know what was going on, but something in my mind was showing me the fear of listening to my ego, and I was listening to it a lot. And so I would have these really intense, fearful attacks. And I practiced a lot of forgiveness with that. So there's really two fears: listening to the ego, which makes the separation real. And then through listening to the ego, it made us fearful of God. So it's kind of a crazy little web, but yeah, it's essential because really, if there's only two emotions, fear and love, it would be essential to get rid of the one that's not of God. Okay, thank you.
Thank you for your comment. I'll save my comment for after everybody else has commented. Megan, I think you were next.
You said so. So I've been working with my mom. She had a little flood, and she's having a hard time managing from her side. So I've been trying to do everything for her, which she asked me to do. But then she resists my helping, and then she has to say, "Oh God, I'm resisting." And the atonement is saying, okay, I'm like God is working to help me, and I'm resisting that help. So when when my mom says I'm resisting you, I realize from her example, she's resisting me. My God is helping her through me, and I can turn around and say I resist God in the same way, where he says I'm going to give you the answer, I'm going to make it really easy for you, and he's like, and I'm like, no, I don't make it easy. I want to do it hard. Same thing with my mom. No, I don't want your answer. I know it's easier, but it's really bothering me that I have to take it from you. And at some point, she said, but you're supposed to teach your children. They're not supposed to help teach you or help you. And I said, well, that's not true, because when my grandmother was, older, I said, you taught her about the new world and how the world worked from younger person's perspective. And I said, so isn't it my turn? And she said, that's right, isn't that? So I think just in a way, I don't want to give fear or the ego so much power that I don't recognize how easy it is to say, I let go of it. It really is. There's no levels of fear, no greater levels, no lesser levels of fear. It's just plain fear. There's no greater levels of scarcity in the world. There's no lower levels. There's no greater levels of anger or angst. They're just all the same. They're all the same level. They're all experienced the same as a shunning and lack of accepting the atonement. And it's that one choice that you make over and over again. You keep choosing over and over again that I'm going to allow God to help and not have to me be in the driver's seat all the time, because God knows he's got more contacts, more tools, more agency than I will ever have on my own. And that knowledge and that choice and that accepting the choice each time, and then witnessing it, me helping my mother and her resisting, and then me then seeing that I've resisted God's help as well through other people and things, really brings it home, which is it's just a teeny choice in between this and God. Thanks.
That was such a great practical example. I appreciate it. I think it was Laura and then Peter. Is that right? Laura?
I think I've almost forgotten the beginning of your question. But two things stayed in my brain. How do you undo fear, and something about atonement, right?
Well, it's on the screen if you want to see it.
Oh,
But
there it is. Okay, it wasn't before. Thank you. And do we want to undo fear? For myself, yes, I really want to undo fear, because it makes so much noise in my body and makes my body so unhappy. It can cause nausea. It can give you hives, all sorts of things. It can make you very sick. And it's all fake. It's not real because it's an automatic reaction stemming from everything you have learned all of your life that you've been living without God. You've had all these lessons in life. You went to church, you listened to your parents, you learned all these things. And now you're learning that a lot of those things were incorrect. And what tells you that they're incorrect is when something like fear comes along and causes a ruckus in you, you know it's not real. There's all of a sudden there's a fight going on, or you're afraid to walk out the door, or, and that's not real. That's some story from ancient history in your life that you don't really need anymore. It needs to be expelled from your being. And that's what we're doing. We're learning how to listen to something that is more real. We're learning to live in a more real way in the light of God, which is the way it was meant to be originally before we separated somehow from God. So when fear comes, or anxiety, or any of those negative things, I realize that's wrong. So I need to be quiet, and I need to sit still, and I need to ask God to tell me what's next, because that certainly isn't supposed to be next. And that's the way I've been doing it. It's just straight up whatever's happening in the moment. If it's negative, if it doesn't feel good, it's not from God. And that's how I undo the fear. I can sit still for a while. I get a sudden thought that my brother is maybe in trouble because he didn't send me an email for 3 days. He lives in a different state, so we're all worried. And then I have to let it go. So I sit still and I ask what to do next. And usually it's quite simple. Make a phone call, ask. But it doesn't come from me if I'm in a state of fear. And fear is just a state. It comes from ancient memory. It's not real. And that's how I undo it. And what I remembered about it at atonement, for somehow what kept coming to me in the last couple of months was, oh, isn't it funny? At atonement, if you break it up, is at one-ment. And that's where I want to be. I don't want to be all in parts like that, with an ego and my childhood, and that's all over. This is the present moment, and that's where I want to be. So that's how I get rid of fear.
Laura, I so appreciate the way you made that connection between ancient history, our childhood, and how fear became, part of us. We learned it or whatever. We brought it in, whatever. And that's why we need to undo fear. We want to undo fear because it feels bad.
Right.
But I want to say, I think this may be a slight disagreement with Philip. I don't know. And you could tell me if it's not, Philip, but I know when I feel fear and it doesn't feel good. But before I studied the course, I had no idea it was possible to not feel fear. I still feel fear sometimes, but at least now I know there is a way to not feel fear. There's a way to heal it. So I'm grateful for that. Laura, was there more you wanted to say?
Nope, you said it all.
Well, you said it all, and I commented. Peter, you're next.
All right, great discussion. So the way I read the Course, my interpretation of the Course is that fear is the result of guilt. And guilt is the thought that we've separated from God and destroyed heaven, and now we think God is out to get us, right? That's the basis of the fear. We live in mortal. We feel like God is going to kill us, going to wipe us out, right? And it's interesting. Lesson 13: a meaningless world engenders fear. And the second paragraph says, recognition of meaninglessness arouses intense anxiety in all the separated ones. It represents a situation in which God and the ego challenge each other as to whose meaning will be written in the empty space that meaninglessness provides. So I interpret that as that's the conflict, right? We feel this conflict with God. Who's gonna, the ego or God, who's gonna write? And of course, we inherently know that God is more powerful than we are. So that's the basis. That's engenders the feeling of fear and anxiety. Now, of course, the truth is we never separated from God. There is no separation. We're still in heaven. God still loves us, and God is not out to get us. But the whole illusion is constructed. And it's one of my favorite lines in the Course is, a guiltless mind cannot suffer. Something like that. So it's the guilt in our mind that creates the suffering, the anxiety, the fear. Remember, only my thoughts can hurt me. Right? It can be but myself I crucify. So the Course is saying everything is happening in your mind. None of it has any basis in ultimate reality. The last thing I'll say is, one of the definitions of the atonement is the correction of perception. And what that tells me is that I'm misperceiving this world, and the basic misperception is that I'm the cause of the world and not the effect of it. The Course talks a lot about cause and effect. And so I think that the world is causing me, and the world is causing me to feel afraid, to feel anxious, to feel angry. The world is, and the Course is saying, no, that's a misperception. So the correction of that perception is to recognize I'm the cause of the world that I think I see. And in that way, the world has no effect on me unless I give my power away. That's why I always say forgiveness is not exactly the right word. It's more about non-reactiveness, not giving our power away to the illusion by making it real, right? So it's don't make it realness as much as it is forgiveness, right? And that's how we take our power back, and that's how we reverse the cause and effect that the Course talks about.
Had to take a little note for myself. So I'm just going to pause here for a minute because I feel, Peter, your comment was so deep and had so much in it. I'm going to offer this to the group. What stood out to you in what Peter shared? Where did you plug into what he shared, or what did you get out of it? So, Karina and Olga, if you would like to comment on that, that would be great, but you don't have to.
It's a total summary.
So, yeah, it was pretty darn deep. So, let's see. So Olga, you wanted to comment?
Sure,
Good.
I would. Thanks. Peter, that was very thoughtful. It was complete, I think. And for me, the word that stuck out was giving the power away and letting the perceptions take over. And I think what we need to remember is that we are loved by God, and the part of us where the truth of that abides is always there, and God is in communication with that part, whether we recognize it or not. And the love is there. And if we come back and ask the Holy Spirit and say, I don't know how to look at this, please help me. And so you're back in that power with the divine, with the Holy Spirit. I think that is so important to remember, that we don't have to do it alone. but not to give away our power. Thank you.
Thank you, Olga. I just want to comment briefly on what Olga just said. It was so gentle, Olga. And that's one of the things I'm working on most now is just the gentleness because God is gentle and loving. Thank you so much. I think Megan, I believe you were okay, I sometimes I lose my order of people, but Megan, I think you were next.
So, just to add something to what Peter said, which is it's not actual God that is going to, it's our projection of what we believe God is. It's the idea that God is punishing. All the fear that we have in life is the fear that we've projected onto this God figure. That God, we need to be good enough for God, that we've sinned and we need to recompense, make atonement and all this. We need to prove that we're worthy of love and everything, all these things. And then we project those things out to other people as well. So it's not true God that we fear is going to punish us. It's our projection of what we think is God that we feel is going to punish us. So I think that made me feel much more able to understand because I wasn't brought up in a truly church run house. So I had sort of a different experience of God. So when people told me their experience of God, I was like, wow, that's scary. I would not want to think God that way. So I've had to edit when people talk so I can understand what they're saying. But then I have to remind myself this is a projection of what people imbue God with, is this anger and this need to build up to God. And God just says, please just accept me in your life. That's all I want, is for you to accept me. Thanks.
Megan, that was such a great distinction between just being aware what God is God, but we have our perceptions. So as long as we could question that, at least we're on the right path, as I perceive it. Maria?
Yes, I wanted to comment on Peter's
Oh, yay.
part.
Good.
Yeah, so what stuck out for me is guilt and separation and I was not thinking about it, and it was a great reminder. Because I always go back, sometimes when I'm feeling and I'm so confused and all that, I just go back separation. I'm separated from my father, from my source. So I always come back. And so it's because I feel separated, everything I see in this world is relieving this separation. And I mean everything. And so, and I believe in sin, this is bad or judging things, bad or good. And I'm misperceiving this world. I'm seeing everything wrongly. And therefore, I accept the atonement, and the atonement is the correction in my mind. And that is what I really pray for in my heart. And like this weekend, I had a lot of thoughts about, attack thoughts about death. So yesterday, I mean, and this world started showing me things about death, like, for example, this earthquake that I'm native from Colombia. There was a huge earthquake there, and it devastated part of the city where my family is. And so there I was, the world is showing me what I'm perceiving, because I was having these attack thoughts that I don't know where they come from, really. And of course, I go back, I'm separated. So every time I'm thinking wrong and I am fearful and I am not happy, whatever it is, I'm separated. I need to go back. I need to, to don't do that. Even this cat was giving me, and she was vomiting also. So everything is showing me death. So yeah, thank you.
So Maria, that's what stood out to me too when Peter spoke, was about the fear being caused by guilt. But I so relate and I feel for you, because things happen in the illusion, and then we get a chance to choose and choose again. So thank you for commenting. I appreciate it. Kareem, you're muted. You know that, right? Are you having trouble? Okay.
No, sometimes my finger goes the wrong way on my phone. I have to swipe. Yeah, I wanted to comment on what Peter said. What stood out for me was the cause and effect. And that's what I got back to what I was saying before about the miracle as a result of my mindset. You know, when I change my mindset, when I accept the atonement, which is all those good feelings that I know leads me to that change. And for me, a lot of it is understanding, is from misperceiving to perceiving with the Holy Spirit. And when I have that little willingness to ask, and I just wanted to say those feelings, you know, of being either anger or fear, anxiety, can lead me and does lead me because I allow it to, because I want it to, but they don't feel good. And that leads me to ask the Holy Spirit for help. And that means that I maybe I've seen something wrong, I'm understanding something wrong, and he always gives me the answer of how to perceive something. And then it loosens the fear, it loosens the judgment, it allows me to understand the other person's perspective, and to be more loving to that person. And I just wanted to say about death. I know in the Course in Miracles somewhere, I think at the end it says, you know, when we talk about the afterlife, Jesus says, you know, that's not for you to worry about. You know, just stay in the present moment. Stay, you know, don't worry about it, you know. And that I love that, you know, because it just takes away all that, you know, it can be very anxiety producing, you know. So I just leave it alone and just be the best person I can be here, you know, and show God's love and fulfill my function, you know, as best as I can. So thanks.
Thank you, Corrine. So we have 1 minute and we have Peter and Megan on board.
Well, all I want to say is that Olga, Maria, Megan, and Corrine said it better than I could have even said it. So thank you guys for clarifying everything that I said. I appreciate
That was great, right, Peter?
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah,
I
me
just
too.
wanted to add that in college I took a class called Death Education, and my teacher used to put this thing on the board, and it basically said that the greatest fears we have in life are the things that we most fear. The greatest fears we have about death are the things that we most fear in life. So I think when death comes along, our ego sees it as a mortal boundary, like that's the end. We get no more time to figure it out. And the more that I do the coursework, the more I realize that I had a real trust issue with God, that everything is happening at the right pace, at the right time, and that I will be caught. I won't fall, that this is not the end, that the mortal death is not the end. So I think while I get easier with it and I take it differently, I'm not having earthquakes or anything happen near me. So I can't say what would go on, but I can say, Maria, I feel for you, because I know that thing, that stark contrast of having that question like right up in your face at the moment really does get you thinking, you know, what am I doing? What is this fear? And it really does spark some of the greatest fears, is when you see the mortal life around you being ended. And I can imagine that that's, you know, for me, kind of difficult. Thanks.
So Megan, that was the perfect comment to follow Corine's comment. So I'm going to close with an ending prayer from lesson 137. When I am healed, I am not healed alone, and I would bless my brothers, for I would be healed with them as they are healed with me. Thank you so much for joining us. Remember, everyone here is holy, and everyone not in our group is holy. I appreciate you.